Before we finished our first loop, we're hitting our third aid station at mile 16, and all of a sudden this dude just passes us with cameras running behind and everything. We're like, oh, there goes the leader. And we're like, we haven't finished our first loop yet. He's finishing his second loop.
Most people need what you guys have. I wish I had your guys' level of dedication. Holy shit, I'd be amazing at what I do.
The first ultra I finished was a 55K. I was out there by myself, and I knew my daughters and my grandma were like waiting at the finish line. And like the last 2 miles, I just like started like uncontrollably sobbing.
Social media has with our count of how valuable 100 people are.
Yeah.
We think, oh, it's only valuable if 1 million people. No, dude, if 200 people watch you every day, you have a business.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Born to Tint with the Miller Brothers. I'm excited to be here with my co-host, my big brother, Josh. How's it going, everybody? We have a very special guest today. We've got Brandon from Vegas, local Vegas food critic, realtor, personality that actually Ricky and Nichelle went to school with. We just happened to know. I didn't know that before we really kind of scheduled him to get on the podcast because I had been following his social for probably a couple of years now because he gives some really good tips on food to find around Vegas. We had an amazing conversation, talked a little bit about ultra running, how he got into doing TikToks and how that kind of turned into work for him in real estate. Check it out. Make sure you subscribe, and thank you for following along with our journey of this. We really appreciate it.
We need to do some stickers that have QR codes on them.
Oh, yeah.
Because the whole goal is that I'll go to a restaurant and I'll tell them, hey, look, I really, like we work together as a partnership. I'll put the sticker on your window. That way when people come in, they know I've eaten here. You could scan the sticker and it'll take you right to my video. So you know exactly what to order at the restaurant.
Where'd this spawn from? Because at the beginning, when I ran into you again after, because you were a grade above me in high school. You knew my sister. Ran into you at Jenny's.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we reconnected. And then I was already following you on Facebook a little bit. And that technically was the only thing I was on. I just literally started my Instagram last year because
your business. You got to.
Yeah. So and that's what it came down to. It's like I have to because if I want to try to grow the business, I actually have to participate, and it is what it is.
Have to.
So I've seen from 2020s when it kind of you were getting even more active, and then all of a sudden it just.
Crazy.
Oh, dude, popped. And then going the food venues and all the different things. It's been a hell of a journey kind of watching you, with all your posts and all the reviews and how it's gone from where it started to begin with to where it's at now. So where was the initial pop for this?
Do you want the true story, man? It's the dumbest story ever. I don't even know if you've ever heard this. I was the guy who used to do the music for the Golden Knights is a buddy of mine named Jake Wagner.
I know Jake. I played baseball with him.
You know Jake Wagner.
Oh, yeah.
Jake Wagner is actually the whole reason I started creating a TikTok. We were at his house playing NHL 2019 or something like that, just dicking around, drinking a little bit. And he's just like, man, we should do a TikTok video. I say, ain't that for 12-year-olds to dance on screen and shit? That's not for me. He's like, come on, let's just make one. And I'm like, all right, I'll make a video. Whatever, Jake. So I was high as hell, and we put on hockey gear, and we tried to make a TikTok video. It was probably 10 seconds, and it was terrible. But people started to comment on the video, and they were like, "Oh, aren't you the guy who sells houses?" And I was like, "I am." And they're like, "Can you show me a house?" I was like, "Yeah, but why do you want to buy from me from a stupid hockey video, right?" And so I actually left it dormant for 4 or 5 months. COVID happened. A bunch of people didn't really care about social media. Yeah. And I remember one day we had a listing that I couldn't sell. We couldn't get any traction. It was COVID. No one wanted to show up. It was just miserable. So I walked across the street to get a steak at a place called the Butcher Block. For some reason, I pulled out my camera and I was like, man, if you're coming to Vegas, don't waste your money at Albertsons. Buy a steak from the Butcher Block. And I showed the steak, whatever. Just, I don't know. That's fucking COVID. And I woke up to, I'll never forget it. My girl thought I was cheating on her. I woke up to 198 text messages. And she was like, who the fuck is texting you at 3 a.m, going in on me? And I checked, and my video had gone viral. And we had people, it was 500,000 views overnight. And in my head, I'm like, oh shit, this is real. Like this is instantly my job now. Like as a realtor, there's no way to get 500,000 people reaching out to you in a night, and that was it. I never looked back.
That's awesome.
It's a complete getting high and making a stupid TikTok account and then filming a butcher buying a steak, and that was it. It was just like you see the life sometimes throws you these stupid doors. They don't look like the doors you want to walk through, but you fucking walk through them, and there you go.
That's amazing. So I didn't know you, but I feel like I do because I didn't even know that they knew you. And I've been following you on social media, man.
I know that.
Yeah, no, I was like, I meant the first time I mentioned it to Nichelle, I'm like, hey, we got to get people like this guy. Like he's covering specifically local Vegas businesses. And she's like, I know him. I went to school with him. I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. Like, I was like, this is what I've been talking about with, because I've been trying, like, Gary Vee turned me on to TikTok like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I opened an account, didn't really do anything with it. Kept telling them we need to make stuff for the shop, and then I didn't pull the trigger and make anything.
Yeah.
And now here we are, and it's like, oh yeah, there was clearly an opportunity to build an audience on TikTok.
100%. And now it's TikTok is for people under the age of 40 years old. TikTok is a bigger search engine than Google. It's where people find literally everything. From everything to eat, from places for business, it's literally the search engine of the future. That's what people use it for. You know, I regret every day that I didn't start TikTok. Every day I didn't start sooner.
I'm
You
just
started, man.
Yeah,
I'm feeling the pressure.
but
having to do
what you
more
said
now.
is true, and it's why TikTok is more valuable in Vegas than almost anywhere else. We all know each other.
Yeah.
We all know each other. It's like 6 degrees of like, what do they call it? Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees. That's how Vegas is. You show me 5 people, I know one of them.
Yeah.
I guarantee it.
Yeah, especially if they've been here a while.
Yeah.
Well, the beautiful thing of what you found, which is awesome, and it's crazy that it like leverages into, of course, anything really, but real estate is the food here. We're like also super fortunate to have some of the best food in the world and an endless supply of it. Like, there's constantly new stuff coming up that you might not find anywhere else, or you might have to go to another country to get that food.
Brother, you just hit something on the head. I've lived here my whole life, and it didn't hit because I never traveled. I grew up hella poor, right? And I got the first opportunity to travel last year for the first time. And I'm traveling to all these cities, and I'm laughing. And my fiance is like, well, wife now, I'm like, why are you laughing? I'm like, I don't mean to be a dick, but everyone's freaking out over Venice, you know, because they have the boats and the gondolas. And I said, I've been to the Venetian a bunch of times. No, I'm not here to shit on the city of Venice, but like, I've seen boats with gondolas, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool about Vegas. It's like a little slice of all of your favorite cities, right? It's not like being in Paris, but you can eat in a Paris-style cafe and then walk next door and gamble and see strippers and shit. It's like, oh, I get why people like Vegas now.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, the food niche it's killer, man. Like,
Yeah.
I constantly find myself looking at your reels or TikToks and going, "Ooh, I gotta go try that place out." Like I still haven't been to China Mama, and
Bro.
I need to go. I need to go,
Bro, I tell everybody this, and I mean it from the bottom of my heart. If you want to go to China Mama, you just tell me a day and we'll go. Like, there's never a period of time where I don't want to go to China Mama.
Yeah.
Straight up. It's the best. The best.
We're gonna have to set that up.
I've had a couple people
we're
mention
gonna
it
set that
before,
up.
and then your videos get me hyped on it though. Like, okay, I gotta go check this place out. Right now, I'm kind of eating like carnivore, almost completely carnivore keto right now. So it's like
Until January's over.
because I was like, man, we should get that. Like, they get the express and bring it in and like just
How's
have it here
how's
today.
the carnivore working for you? Did you do it for health reasons, or did you do it because you just wanted to like shock your body with something new?
Health reasons. I've been playing around for a long time. So 6-7 years ago, I weighed like almost 240.
Damn.
Yeah. So, and I found a lot of success with keto. But
Yeah.
I was like really going down the rabbit hole. I was cold plunging back then, like, because I saw Wim Hof before cold plunging really even took off. But because of the
When
running,
else the breathing
yeah,
exercises,
and
right?
cold plunging,
Yeah.
yeah. So in like my journey to get back into running and doing ultra marathons, which kind of rubbed off on him running ultras, I kind of started consuming content on. There's a lot of ultra runners because you're not like sprinting it, and it's more of a low intensity just for a really long period of time. There's runners out there that have found really good success with going keto to get more fat adapted to where you can burn fat more efficiently.
Really?
So I went down that rabbit hole as I was trying to increase my miles, and there's kind of a synergy to it of
as you lose weight, running gets easier, so you can go further, and now your joints and ligaments can actually handle doing more because they're used to carrying around more weight.
Yeah.
So in the span of like 6 months, I went from like almost 240 down to like 170, and then another couple months I got down all the way to like 155. But I spent 9 months like nutritional ketosis. Like I wasn't getting a burger at Wendy's with no bun. I was like no nitrate, uncured bacon at home with like, good eggs. I'd have avocado, coconut oil. I was doing, and actually I just got back to it, doing my coffee in the morning as a bulletproof coffee.
Yeah.
So put some butter in there and like some MCT oil. And for me, it worked great. At the time, I was preaching to everybody, this is the way you got to do it if you want to lose weight. And like, this is the only thing that'll work. For me, it worked because once I actually got away from that like sugar addiction, because sweets are my down.
Yeah.
Sweet, like if there's something sweet in the house, I'm gonna eat it.
Yeah.
Like, but once I got like a month into doing keto really hard and was seeing success and knew why it was working because of insulin and all like the technical stuff I was learning on YouTube, it was just like, all right, I'm not gonna stop doing this, and I'm not craving sweets anymore for the first time in my life. So I did like 9 months like hardcore. And then over the last couple of years, I found fasting. And I used fasting as an excuse.
Are you doing intermittent fasting, or are you doing like the 3-day stretches?
Yeah, I had like 1 or 2 times that I would do like 2 or 3 days, but mostly it was just like, hey, I'm going to do intermittent fasting, and I won't eat till like 2. But that gave me the excuse to start eating crappy food again.
Yeah.
So, and then that eventually like, oh, today I'll eat at noon instead of 2. And I got less disciplined with it, and I got back up to like 190 something, and then realized like I got to catch myself. He got me back really hardcore into running last year.
Yeah.
Challenged me to go do a 100-miler with him in October. So I was like, okay, he completed it. I only did 66 miles, but he completed it.
Bro, okay. My brother ran a marathon in Mallorca, a half marathon. And my brother's like one of the most in shape people that I know, right? Been athletic his whole life. 13 miles killed him, like physically drained him.
Yeah.
You ran 100 miles?
Yeah. It's all training and preparation.
And it's not
Getting the miles in.
Yeah.
It was my third one I've done. Right now my goal is I'm trying to get to, there's a race called Western States. It's up in Northern California. It's the most prestigious 100-miler in our country. It was not the first ultra, but I think the first 100-mile ultra. And the only way to get into that race, because they only take 364 people, because California's got great laws when it comes to restrictions going through federal lands. So they halted them at that number. So now you have to run a qualifying race, and you get put in for a lottery. So it's just luck of the draw.
Wait, people are put in a lottery for the privilege to run 100 miles? That feels like a punishment, man.
Oh yeah, no, and it's blown up over the past couple of years. Goggins is a huge part of it. When he popped, he with his ultras, he's running and stuff. It went from, I think last year, I think there was 9,200 people that entered it, and if you look back at how the entries have gone, the year before that was about 6,200, and then before that was like 30-something hundred. It's like almost doubling every year.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky enough to where I started 3 years ago. I am at the point now where I've already entered into my next one. I'm going to do the Tahoe Rim Trail 100 again. And I'm at a point now, at least my tickets, I'll have 8 tickets in the bucket. And that's where people, like in the 4th year, at least what the numbers look like, when you get to your 4th year, people just are like, nah, I'm done. I've tried for 3 years. I'm good. So my chances are going to go up tremendously next year to get in.
Do you feel like the mentality that it takes you to finish 100, because it's mentality at that point, right?
100%.
Like physically you can be as great a shape as you want to, but if you're not there, do you feel like that translates over to the rest of what you do outside of marathoning?
Absolutely. It's changed it's changed everything in my life. I thankfully stumbling upon running and then stumbling upon these goals. It happened all at the perfect time in my life to where like I was trying to get my life straight from personal, unfortunate, just trying to run my own life into the ground.
Sure.
Catching myself, my family catching me, and getting to the point where I had something fed to me at the right time, had the right books to listen to, and then it just kind of grabbed hold of me to where it keeps me in line in my life. It keeps me disciplined. Like my wife would always tell me, like I feel like you always have to be in something. And like I've gotten to the point now I don't have to have something to train for, and I'll keep on top of myself. But it's taken me years to get to that point.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely a person that I have to have. I'm a very competitive person. I played sports in high school, played sports my entire life. And it's like I found something that it's not like I enjoy the team aspect of, like I played baseball and I played a little football. I enjoy the team aspect, but with the ultra running, you still have the team of the community around you, but it is solely on, are you going to get the training done?
Yeah.
And then come the day of the race, you're in a fight with your own mind from like mile 50 on. It's
Mile 50, bro.
it's 50 when it gets to the point where it starts getting painful and the lows. Well, it goes along for me where when I'm at mile 50, the sun's going down, and
Sure.
that's when the fight happens.
What's going through your head? Is it like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, about part of the times it's that, and then it's I look at it, it's like I just devoted either, depending on what kind of training block I did, it's either a 4-month or 6-month training block. I just devoted a quarter of a year to training for this.
Sure.
Like, and especially if I'm like 50 miles in, like what's another 50 miles? And that's where I'll start chopping it into blocks to where it's like, let's get to the next aid station. Let's see how fast I can get to the next aid station. Keep my time per mile down. Like if I can do like 15-minute mile, like I'm doing good. And then
So you're challenging yourself as you're pushing through mile 50.
you have to, for me at least, you have to chop it up. If you try to look at the end goal, I did that with my first one, and I almost crashed and burned. If it wasn't for, he paced me, and my wife was there as a crew, as one of my crew members, and then one of my good friends was there too. Like without those three, I would have quit. But I mean, yes, I'm the one who did the running, but without that support team next to me, and also the support of all the runners.
Yeah.
Like I had numerous runners.
It's a super supportive group, I
Oh,
found.
The running community is amazing.
My brother, like, at one point, because, he had never done it before, he hit mile 7, and it started to go uphill. And he just, like, stopped. He was like, I can't fucking do this. And so many people, strangers, were just like, come on, fucking, let's go. You trained for this, let's go. And I'm like, wow, this is like a community here.
Totally.
Oh, and that's what I got too at the end of that first race was I had people passing me and me going like I was standing like about to turn around and walk away and like dude, I'm done, and people passing me like, you'll regret it, don't do it, just keep going, just get to the next aid station, get to the next aid station and go from there. And that little bit of incremental help and support kept me going, and then eventually got to the point where it's like I got 10 miles left. It's like 10 miles is a training day on like Tuesday during the tail end of my training. Like I go out and do 10 miles a month. So what's 10 miles when you get to that point?
Where do you run in Vegas for 10 miles?
So
That's my question. Vegas is only about 10 miles.
So when I first started training, well, the other thing that drew me into running is I'd go out and back. So if I go 5 miles that way, I have to go 5 miles back. So it forced me into my second half of my workouts. So I just leave my door. I go outside my house and just run away. Like I live back in Inspirata.
Okay.
So
You got plenty of miles to run up there.
well, I would go from Inspirata. I'd go up through Anthem, down Eastern, from Eastern to Horizon Ridge, all the way down to say furthest I went was like Gibson.
Yeah.
And then Gibson back down all the way to like Eastern, up Eastern St. Rose, wrap around the M Resort, and come back. And like that's about a marathon right
Bro,
there.
that's half my tank of gas. You just ran half my tank of gas out, brother. That's crazy.
The distance is the problem, but also the time is you have to be very, like I overtrained for my first one, and after my first one, I actually started buying training plans from an ultra runner, which I found great success because I definitely overtrained, ran too much, was pushing my body way too hard.
Yeah.
And like I understood that after the first one, but it's setting the time aside because like on like deep into the training block, it's one of my wife's like favorite parts. Not really, is I go disappear on Saturday for about 4 to 5 hours in the morning, which I'll still get up though at like 3 o'clock because I don't want to cut into the time with my son or my wife.
Way to add that in there. Or my wife, girl.
That's the hard part. That's where these past couple ones I've come to find a balance that I can't push myself too hard because then when I get home from work, like I just want to sit, like not just want, like I end up sitting down, relaxing, and if I'm in a comfortable position, I'm out. But then I get up at 2 in the morning and I'll go for my runs, get ready for work, and then go to work. But it's finding that balance between the training and then also work, but also not completely exhausting myself for my personal life. But the training has helped my my energy levels. Like when I'm not training, my wife definitely sees it. I know a difference. I feel a difference. I can see a difference. And I know that my output at work isn't as high as it can be.
Sure.
So when I am putting the 10 to 12 hours in a week in training just in the running itself, my energy levels go through the roof.
Well, that's the crazy part for me, right? Because I know UFC guys, athletes who train the way you train, but that's their job. That's what they do for a living. Once the training's over, they go home because the day's done. How do you guys balance that crazy workout schedule with like actual jobs, right? It's on your shirt. How do you do both things? Because like you can't train for a marathon casually.
No.
Yeah.
It's one. I would say one inspiration, one person, the hat he's wearing, Cam Hanes, another ultra runner, bow hunter, where he does ultra running to train for bow hunting, but at the same time he held a job at the utilities in Eugene, Oregon. Worked 9 to 5. Like this dude would get up, go run a marathon in the morning, and then he goes to work for 8 hours. And it's like seeing it being done. I'm like, well, it definitely can be done. It's gonna have some low moments,
Sure.
but for me, it's just about getting to bed at the right time, making sure you're grabbing enough sleep,
Yeah.
and then just staying on top of
The
it.
discipline to your regimen. Like, don't stay up
Yep.
late and
Yep.
scroll Netflix.
Yep.
Like, if you're home from work and everything's done, put the kids to. And this actually helped me get my kids to go to bed earlier.
Yeah.
Like, rather than telling them, hey, it's bedtime, time to go to bed, and then sitting on the TV and watching Netflix for another 2 hours, it's like, I've got training going right now. I've got to be up at 3:30 to do a run in the morning. I'm going to bed at 8.
Yeah.
So when I started, especially when they were a little bit younger, I'm going to bed at 8. Like, all right, I'm going to bed. They're like, well, I want you to tuck me in. All right, I'm going to go to bed now. So now rather than trying to get them to go to bed, they're like going to bed when I am early. So
Yeah.
all of that ties in. Nutrition, diet, that's kind of the reason why when I did keto, I did it so strict.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't doing junk keto. I was making sure I was eating like a tub of spinach a day with olive oil all over it, an avocado every day, a ton of extra salt. So like having to dial in all those little things makes it a lot more doable.
Yeah.
And it kind of just changes your mindset on what's possible, which then, like your question earlier, definitely translates to business. Like, what are all the little disciplined, detailed things
Yeah.
that I need to do every day that I'm slacking off on and not doing, like, that I know now that I could be doing? Like, I feel most people have the mentality that, like, a half marathon is going to kill you. And you can't really compare the two. If I go out and run a half marathon right now, I'm going to run it at such a hard pace that I'm going to be hurting at the end of it.
Sure.
Even though I can go do more, the pacing, like if I'm doing an ultra at 100 miles, I'm trying to keep my heart rate under a certain level. That way I know I'm burning fat and not sugar.
Yeah.
Whereas a half marathon's a distance that
You're just pushing it.
yeah, it's almost still like a sprint, like,
Yeah.
compared to an ultra.
I think something you said really resonates. It's why it's why I actually like doing podcasts so much, is because when you get guys talking, it like sparks light bulbs in people, right? Like the way you talk about discipline and regimen is the same. Like it's sparked a light bulb in me the same way when I talk to people about social media and just get started.
Yep.
Right? Just get started, right? You're not going to be good at making videos. You wouldn't know it now, right? Because now I'm fucking fat as hell because I'm the food guy in Vegas, right? But like, right when I started real estate, I was like, bro, I'm too broke to be eating shitty. Like real estate being like when you first start real estate, you're poor. Like all your money goes back into gas and marketing and stuff, and you're not making any money. So I was like, I started doing keto as a way to be like, you can't eat shit else, right? Like let's just do this. And it wasn't the changing my diet, it was the discipline. It was like, no, you have to wake up and make this coffee. Then at 12 o'clock, you have to eat this meal. Then, you have to there's no just like, when you're a shitty eater like I am now, I'll just grab a burger here. I'll just grab pasta here. I'll just grab whatever's convenient. When you're doing keto, it's like, no, I have to plan this shit out. I need to get this many macros in at this point in the day. And it really helps shape the rest of your day, especially when you're working out. And I think when you said that, it like sparked in me, because that's like, I'm a competitive guy. I like being the best at something. But now I'm the best at realtors on social media. And so I've lost that like competitive edge, which makes me start eating like shit, makes me start eating sweets again, because I'm like, there's no competition around me kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think I've just been inspired today to go back on my keto diet.
Awesome.
I need that edge. I need that like, that regimen back in my life.
That's definitely the big thing for me when it comes to ultras is the competitive nature of
Yeah.
it. Like I typically do about 2 races a year, and only 100-mile race. I pick whatever my qualifying race is. Like you have from like December to January. If you're gonna find a qualifying race, you got to enter then, especially if it's a race that everyone wants to do because they fill up like that. So
What's like the big one? What's one like Goggins does?
Well,
He's done a bunch of big ones.
he's done a bunch of big ones, and let
His
alone
first one was probably one of the hardest races to do on the planet, the Badwater Ultra Marathon. It's out of Death Valley.
Oh,
like in
no,
Moles.
that was number 3. His
Well,
first
that-
one he did it was San Diego One Day. What made that
Yeah.
that was, to me, I always go back and listen to that from his book when I'm doing a race, because when I'm feeling low, I'll listen to that section, because then I stop feeling like a little bitch and I just go about my day. Because he, from the couch on 2 days' notice, and yes, he was a SEAL at the time. He was lifting heavy though. He wasn't doing any cardio. 20 minutes on elliptical, and on 3 days decide, I'm gonna go do this 100-miler that the Chris Kosman from Badwater, he's the director of Badwater, he had reached out to him to, hey, I want to run this race. It was for the SEALs that died in Operation Red Wing. He wanted to do the race for a foundation, for the SEAL Foundation for the kids, and he was like, Chris Kosman told him, like, you got to qualify for my race. You got to put in a resume for Badwater, because it's 138 miles through Death Valley in June.
Yeah.
June, yeah. And you start out,
in the
and you
120s,
start in Death
130s.
Valley, and you end on top.
disgusting.
You end up on the mountaintop of Mount Whitney. So you get like 9,000 feet of elevation gain going through the heart of the summer. And told him, like, well, you have to, I don't care who you are, you got to do a qualifying race. Oh yeah, there's one this weekend, like kind of like jokingly, and it's my favorite story in the book. So he took it and said, okay, goes and does it. And not only does the 100-mile race, completes 100 miles in 18 and a half hours, something I haven't been able to sniff at all. And I've put time and effort, and it's just like, it opens my mind to, like, there is so much more you can put into something. And it's like, I'll listen to that story, and like the night before the race, he goes and lifts weights, does a powerlifting set with one of his buddies that he serves with, and then goes out and does this race and completely like breaks his body, to where it's like, I'm listening to him like, he did that on 3 days' notice. I've put 6 months into this. Yeah. What am I bitching about right now? I need to just shut up. Just take it as it is. This is a low moment. Let me just ride this low and get through it. And then all of a sudden you hit a high moment, and you're like, I'm good to go. I'm gonna crush this thing. And then 10 minutes later, you want to jump off the side of the mountain. It's a nonstop.
He's my favorite dude in the world, because he's like the teacher I always wanted. Oh, yeah. Where his life lesson is always, stop being a bitch.
Yeah.
Great. That's all I needed to hear, bro. That's it. I don't need a bunch of other words. I don't need a whole fucking speech. Stop being a bitch. And I'm like, you're right, motherfucker. I am being a bitch, you know? I don't want to, like, I wake up in my comfortable ass bed in the morning, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to wake up and go lift. You know, it's just like, how big of a bitch am I at this point, you know? I think that's what's so motivating about him, is he cuts right to the chase. He doesn't give you a bunch of bullshit.
Would you say that's the type of coach that you always liked too? Because you played.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, see, like I was the same. That's my biggest draw to Goggins too. Is that's what I wanted. I wanted to be told, like, stop being a bitch, get after it, get done.
I'm a Belichick kind of coach. Like, give me a coach who's just going to be like, hey, shut the fuck up, do your job, and I'm like, oh, got you. That's all I needed to hear. Do your job. I don't need all the hand holding. I don't need all the extra shit. Like, just get right to the fucking point.
Yeah.
I liked it about him, man.
No, that's definitely my biggest draw to him, was that, is cut all the bullshit out. You're only standing in your own way.
Yeah.
And that again circles back to running for me. That's what drew me into running, is that I have no one else to blame but myself if I'm not prepared for the race.
Sure.
And if I have spent money to get into a race, damn well I'm going to be sure that I'm going to prepare for it, because if I got into it, that's one thing with me. Sports taught me growing up, is if you're going to start something, finish it.
Sure.
You might not like it. It is what it is. But if you've started it, at least finish it. And after you finish it, if you want to walk away from it, that's fine.
Sure.
But finish what you started.
Finish. Mike, I remember, best coach I ever had, right? At the end of practice, you're dead tired. You know, people don't understand this. When you play football in Vegas, you're practicing in 120-degree heat with 35 pounds of pad on. Like, there's no breaks. You're doing it. And at the end of every practice, he would have us run suicide sprints. 100 yards, right? And his biggest thing is finish. Don't jog 20 yards out. Finish the sprint, right? Yep. Finish. And I remember one time I was just, you get lazy, and I just didn't want to. I was just like, 5 yards out, I started to kind of like, lighten up a little bit. And that motherfucker was just like, do them again. I'm like, he's like, what? He's like, from the beginning, do it again. Finish the fucking sprint. And like, I was pissed off, so pissed off that the next time I ran it, I fucking sprinted all the way through. And he was just like, don't you feel better about yourself? And I was like, yeah, you're right. I do. I do. That last 5 yards, that last 5 yards, right? That's the difference between stopping at mile 50 and keep going, which is fucking so crazy to think about. Coach Schultz, I'll never forget that shit. Damn. You're going to be digging up deep memories here.
And what is that? That's mindset, right? Like that's the thing where I like to apply what I've learned from ultra marathoning is just the mindset of like, all right, what else in my life am I looking at, like a 5K or a 10K or a half marathon or whatever? Like, you know, some people, that's their pinnacle of the distance they think that they're even capable of running. But like you go to these ultra events and there's like 16-year-old kids and 70-year-old men and women finishing these races.
That's nuts.
And dusting half the time too.
What else in my life am I underestimating my potential and not putting in enough work?
100%.
You can find it all over the place.
100%, right? Because the first time you went out running, half a marathon was tiring.
Oh, yeah. That was
Right?
the first long race I ever ran, actually, was a
Right?
half marathon.
And you were like, this is exhausting. How could I ever push this? And then you ran a marathon and you were like, oh shit, 13 miles seems easy now,
Yep.
you know? And now you're doing 100 miles and you're like, oh shit, a normal marathon's a joke, right? And each step of the way you thought it was impossible. But then once you cross that line of impossibility, you see like, oh, the whole world's open for me.
And even just how you're like even like your initial comparison to a half marathon to 100, both of those can be crazy hard, right? Like a marathon at a like world class level, like running sub 3 hours running. I mean, they're running them now in
I don't understand
right at 2 hours.
What did that dude who just broke from Kenya broke the record for a marathon?
Yeah, so he's just shy of breaking the 2 hour mark.
He was sprinting though.
It's a 4:30 something per mile pace.
That's absolutely
It's-
batshit insane.
It's a full out sprint. Most people can't even go that fast at all, let alone for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like they set up treadmills to like, hey, try to run the pace that they were running, and everybody just.
Did you see that
falls
video?
off.
People were just bouncing off of it. Yeah.
Like world class, like or college level, like high level college sprint
Athletes
can't do it for very long at all.
Oh, and see, that's to me. That's where like whenever the subject gets brought up, or they're like, "Oh, you run 100 miles," I'm like, "What I do is nothing," because the race we just did in Arizona, the guy who took first. So it took me. You have to finish this race in 30 hours to qualify for Western States. I finished in the golden hour, 29 hours and like 16 minutes. So that last
Bro, you
hour,
ran for a day straight?
well, no,
There's walking in between.
29 hours. So my average pace was, I think, 16 or 17 minutes a mile. So yeah, there were some times in there where I did turn something like about 8 or 10 minute miles in certain sections where I felt real good. But there are times where I did a 22-minute mile, which it was just I walked for a mile and contemplated life for a bit.
That was my next question for you. I noticed a lot of the marathoners don't wear headphones.
Oh, I do.
You do?
Oh, absolutely.
That's
the
like,
one thing.
what are you doing for 20 hours straight, like in your own head?
That's where I broke away. That's where like I understand the concept. Goggins throws out. Don't need headphones. Like it is different. I have trained without headphones, just so where I can try to get my mindset in that spot to where if you don't have anything to listen to, there is nothing. You're just in your own head, and it's even worse. So like I've helped train with that, but I have it to where I switch headphones out. I have a drop bag to where I know I'm switching each headphone out to where I'm always charged. I have a battery that goes with me for my phone, so my phone doesn't die. And it's usually podcasts, books. It's sometimes music. It really depends on my mood. But I've got technically all the time in the world to finish this race. The guys who were taking first, this dude did it. He broke the course record. He did it in 12 hours, and it was, I think, 46 minutes.
Yeah.
So
He passed us while we were still on our first lap.
he passed me 3 times.
Yeah.
He ran past, because it was a loop, a 20-mile loop. Before we finished our first loop, now he did start 30 minutes ahead of us, which didn't really matter. We're hitting our third aid station at mile 16, and all of a sudden this dude just passes us with cameras running behind him and everything. We're like, oh, there goes the leader. And we're like, we haven't finished our first loop yet. He's finishing his second loop. He's on his way to the finish right now. He got to the damn finish line, did a couple squats, did some dance moves, and then crossed the finish line because he knew he just beat the course record. And he was probably
He was just flexing.
oh, he was just stoked. Which like I see those guys, I'm like, no, those dudes are running 100-milers.
Yeah.
So, like I'm going the distance. I'm going 100-mile distance, but I've yet to, like, for me, my next goal, my big thing I want to do is a sub 24-hour marathon, because that's like, that used to be the pinnacle, was sub 24.
Yeah.
Now with all the technology of like the cold plunging and the training and all the recovery stuff you can do, there are guys, like I said, doing it in 12 hours and 46 minutes. And it's just like, I'd like to say maybe I could get there one day. No, because they're running a like 8-minute clip for 100 miles. So they're just doing a casual sprint for 100 miles.
Yeah, the people that are at that level now at this point that ultras have gotten so, because I got into it in like 2010 was when I discovered ultras even existed. The people that are getting into it now because the sport's grown so much, they're people that were doing cross country in high school. They went and ran in college, and like, so you have these elite level runners that have been running their whole life and building up this base.
Yeah.
Just you're never gonna catch up to that if you didn't start running young.
No, that's what's crazy about Goggins, is like,
Yeah.
he grew up a chubby dude, right?
Yeah.
So he wasn't like the dude who was like doing this his whole life, right? He was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And he's competing with people who have been training forever. Yeah. That's the nuts part. That's the motivating part about that.
His
shit.
mindset's insane. There's a video of him after he finished Badwater and won it.
I think so.
I think I don't know if it was the first time he did it or the second time he did it.
It was the first time he took fourth, I think, if I'm not
But
mistaken.
he finished up in the front, and everybody was like, "Who is this guy? What the hell?" And the question they ask him is like, "Was it hot out there?" And he's just like, "What?" Like his what is his answer on that? I don't even remember. But it's just like stone faced, like, what a stupid question.
Well, right
What
there.
a stupid question. Yeah. I'll never forget the video that made me be like, oh, who the fuck is this guy? He's running, right? And he's got like a partner that he's running with. He goes, this guy's been kicking my ass every time I run with him. He just whips my ass. He whips my ass. And I can't figure out why I can't beat this guy. Because, we're competitive. Why can't I beat him? He goes, I found his weakness. This motherfucker can't handle pain. He goes, my foot is broken right now, but this motherfucker can't stay with me because he can't. I'm like, you're an insane person. I love that. Like, your weakness is pain. Like, his mindset is just like, injury doesn't even come through his head, right? Like, that's the mindset I think we all want. That's what we're all chasing. Of like, when you're running, you feel it in your knees, you feel it in your feet. Like, you try to ignore it, but your body is aware that like,
oh yeah,
this shit hurts. Like, I might break something right now. And like, how does he eliminate that? How does he just tell himself like, I don't give a fuck? Not where it doesn't even register to him.
the mind is crazy, man. I think his initial journey into it, because he was doing it to raise money for a SEAL charity for children of SEALs that had just died. Like, that's a whole nother level of why, right?
Sure.
Like, so I just attempted my first 100-miler with him. Even though I got him into it, I haven't done a 100-miler. I got into jiu-jitsu and got sidetracked and haven't been running as much. And I, at mile 66, tapped out because I couldn't overcome it. So it's like, I know what that pain feels like now. And time was, you basically have so much time to finish your laps, or there's a cutoff, and they won't let you start the next one. I hit a wall where I couldn't start running again. I was going way too slow. By the time I got to the next aid station, I look and see like, okay, I've got to run faster than I've run all day. The first time I've ever
Just
gone
to make
over,
back up,
just to
yeah.
even be able to start one more 20-mile loop. Like, it was like
Your reward is more running.
it was so
Exactly.
easy in my head at that time to go like, all right, I'm done. Like,
Yeah.
there's no reason to keep going. I'll come
Yeah.
back and try this again.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to create the excuse, especially when the why is not that strong. Like, for me, it was just like, yeah, I want to finish my first 100-mile race, but I didn't have like a reason to like push through at that point. That was
Yeah.
like, all right, I can handle having I did not finish. I'd never even gone 50 miles before. So making it 66.
In your head, you're already way beyond expectations.
It was like, okay, I already won this. And it was easy at that point to be like, all right, I could have finished that loop and ended up with a total of like 81 miles.
Yeah.
But I was like, why?
Do you feel like people's biggest problem is that we set our expectations for ourselves too low?
For sure.
Do you think that's what it is? I find that a lot. I've been thinking about that a lot lately because I coach people and I teach them on a variety of things. And when I sit down and talk to them, a lot of them are just like, oh, I never expected to be able to buy a house. I never expected to,
Yeah,
I never
definitely.
expected. And I'm never one, what it's called, preaching to the choir. I'm not, because I'm just like everybody else. I never expected to have my face on a shirt.
Yeah.
Right? Like I never expected any of this. I never expected people to want me to be on their podcast. And I think one of the hardest things as men to do is like, oh shit, I've exceeded my expectations. Where do I fucking go? Where do I go now? I'm at mile 66. I only planned to be at mile 50.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
Like how do I How do I push myself past my own expectations?
I mean, if you're only setting your goals so high, like, I think a lot of times it's out of fear of failure.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
people's egos, and like you don't wanna be seen as failing at something, but
Yeah.
you're not gonna push through and get better unless you have failures.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like totally comfortable with, like, even when I made the decision to stop, like, all right, cool. Like I said I was gonna do this. I didn't quite make it. But I'm gonna go try again. Like, and I'm gonna keep trying again until I actually complete it. And you know what? Like, even though we had already recorded a podcast talking about how we're going to do this, like, it was actually kind of I had about a hour and a half walk to the next aid station when I basically couldn't even walk anymore. I was
Yeah.
like just hobbling to think about it, and it was like, all right, I don't really care what other people think. Like, this was for me to begin with anyways,
Yeah.
and I'm going to take this and learn from it. I knew that I hadn't trained enough. That's the other thing. I know enough about ultras that I was dealing with injuries earlier in the year, and I'd only gotten my weekly volume up to like 5-6 hours a week.
Yeah.
You heard him earlier, 10 to 12 hours is probably like the
Closer to
minimum, right?
Isn't it wild that you can run 66 miles and part of your brain still feels like a failure? Isn't
Oh,
isn't that
yeah.
insane? You ran more in one go than most people will run all this year. And in your head, you're just like, fuck, I didn't finish. I didn't, right? Like, and you
Yeah.
fought through it. You were like, I'm doing this for me.
Yeah.
But there's still part of your brain that you're like, oh, I didn't do the thing.
Yeah, no, I was definitely bummed out for like the week after. Like, man, I should have tried. But like, ultimately, I'm secure enough with who I am and what I'm trying to do. That,
Yeah.
like, this is something I'm doing. I'm not a professional athlete.
Yeah.
This is something I'm doing to try to grow, and like I can handle a failure. Like, that's cool. That's
Still grow
actually
from
that there's
failure.
Yeah.
there's more room for growth. I feel,
100%.
right?
Still grow from
100%.
Compared to maybe I finish and sometime I'm not even expecting to finish, and now my ego's all built up, and I'm like, hey, I'm thinking I'm better than I am, you know?
Dude,
So
the ego is the worst part about it. Because, like, okay, so running marathons is completely different than posting on social media, right? So please, anybody watching, I'm never trying to equate one thing to the next thing. One thing is significantly harder than the other thing, right? But like, if I post a video and it doesn't do well, I immediately am like, fuck, pull it down. I don't like seeing, because like there's a number there that tells me how many people
yeah.
watched that video, right? And that number feels like success, you know? And when you don't, I put the same work in on this video that I did on this video, the same amount of effort, time, all that. And when the video fails, I'm just like, fuck, forget how many videos have succeeded. I'm hyper focusing on this one that failed me. And I like speaking to runners, especially ultra marathon runners, because it's like you guys are literally challenging failure every day. Every day you're challenging failure. So it's like, I like talking to you guys because you guys have a mentality of overcoming failure that most people don't have.
Well, it's good to hear you say that you still have that with the social media stuff, because we're not getting anywhere near the views or clicks or engagement that you're getting. And I definitely feel that same thing. So it's like, it's the same thing, right? It doesn't go away how successful you're going to be. Like, you're still going to have that judgment on like, dang, I thought this video was better. But,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not being
Well,
validated.
I
Like,
told you
what?
guys at the start about the first video I ever did went viral. And I'm like, oh, this is a piece of cake. Bro, this is dumb. Why do people pretend that this is hard? The next video I did maybe got 100 views. And I'm like, no, I thought I had the fucking magic.
Yeah.
I thought I had the secret recipe. And what's funny is how much, no matter, I've done, I've been on both sides of the podcast, right? And no matter who I talk to, we're all dealing with the same thing of like, there's a struggle, you succeed, and then on the other side of that success is just more failure. And it's just like, how do I motivate myself to keep up this hill of like, your reward for success is more failure at the top of it? Like, how do you keep yourself going?
I would say the big thing that the correlation for me for running that has opened my eyes is that it is a slow progression of how much time you're willing to put into it. And yes, you have to be able to face the failure and move forward with it, but it's all about how much time you put into it. Like the guys that are finishing at the top of the running, like one of the guys I follow that I get his plan, Zach Bitter. I look at where he's at in his life and his running career, and then I come to the realization like he started in high school. So by the time I started, I started running ultras about 5-6 years ago.
Sure, he had the 10,000 hours up on you.
Oh, and then some. And I mean,
100,000.
and running's also got me to the point. Like I look at Kobe a completely different. Like I listened to the videos of Kobe and how he would get up and train.
Yeah.
And now it's like I've already
Yeah.
put 2 extra training blocks in before you've even got up.
Before you've even woken up.
You've got 0 shot of catching me
Ever.
ever.
If I'm more talented than you and I'm working, Tiger Woods, same thing. You guys ever heard the story of Tiger Woods, where they interview golfers on the golf course, and they show up to the golf course at like 7 a.m, and Tiger's been hitting putts since 5 o'clock, and they're like, he's already better than you, right? And they're like, yeah, he's way better than us, and he's showing up 2 hours before you, right? Yeah. How are you ever going to catch Tiger Woods? Like, right? Is that what it feels like to be a marathon runner, to be running with people who have been doing this their whole life, and it just feels like insurmountable sometimes?
Motivational for me.
Yeah.
Motivational?
Oh, for me, it's motivational. It's pure
Okay.
motivation. It's made me realize and check my ego and be humble in the fact of like, stop thinking you're gonna get to where they are when they've got that much time ahead of you. Like to think that you're gonna come anywhere close. Yes, there are freak athletes out there. There is that percent of people that can pick something up and go with it.
Yeah.
But that just kind of is what it is. But for the majority, in my eyes, majority of people out there, it's how much time are you going to put into this? How much dedication are you going to put into it? And then understand that that's what got them to that point, was the dedication and the discipline to keep getting after it every single day to eventually get to it. I mean, from my first 100-miler to my third, I've learned so much. Every single one of my races, because I only get to run that distance. I've only run the 100-mile distance 3 times in my life. 50 miles, I think I've eclipsed 8 or 9 times. But otherwise, my longest training runs, maybe 30 miles. Otherwise, that's it. Like, that's my long day. But, like, I'll do back-to-back runs to where I'm making sure my body can stand up to the pressure of a 100-mile race to where, yeah, you get past, what is it? I think it's, the race doesn't start, most ultramarathoners, the saying is the race doesn't start till mile 80. Because mile 80 is, that last 20 miles is a pure mental fight with yourself.
100%.
Like, and it's
100%.
Like I almost dropped out. Like I said, I almost dropped out my first one. If it wasn't for him at mile 70, I think it was 76, he finally got me out of an aid station. Where he's like, "What do I got to do to get you up?" I was, "Give me your jacket," because I did not prepare for the weather. Like there's so many things I didn't do right.
What was it, like 36?
Yeah, it
degrees?
dropped to
It
like
was so
low
cold.
30s, and like I'd been running out here like shirtless on training runs in the middle of the night while it was 40, 30 degrees, thinking, "Oh, I'll be fine," not realizing I'm on fresh legs. My heart rate's going,
Yeah.
and I'm not miserable and want to just lay down and go to bed at the moment.
Yeah.
So the cold got me. He got me up. I got to mile 80. And I was like, in my mind, when we got up in that aid station, I didn't tell him. I was like, I'm getting to mile 80 and I'm done. I get in there. My wife climbs in my ass, and she's like, you're going. You just did all this training. You're going. They finally get me up and go. And then like as soon as I got past, like I said, a mile, as soon as I got like late 80s and as soon as I hit mile 90, all of a sudden something came over me to where it's like all of a sudden I started holding like a 10-minute pace, which I hadn't been doing at all for the past.
And
like,
you turned to a superhero.
Dude,
Oh,
it was like
it's the
like being
ultimate-
in Goggins' book, man.
It's the
'cause he
ultimate
was
high.
Done. Like I had to keep getting way out in front of him and just walking and be like, "Come on, just take another step. Don't be a bitch. Let's go. Let's go. Let's
what
go."
I needed to hear.
And then he just kept taking step forward after step forward, and all of a sudden the sun comes up, and we look at the time and know how much more time he needs to get there. Like, you can do this, dude. And like, he starts running, and now instead of being in front of him, I'm letting him lead the pace in front of me.
Yeah.
And I got really cool videos from behind him, like where I was just tripping out. Like, he ran the last, like he was done at 75, 6, whatever it was. Like, I'm not going anymore. To all of a sudden running, like actually running decent miles over and over and over again. And it was like, that was the most emotional I've ever been at any running event ever. The first ultra I finished was a 55K. I was out there by myself, and I knew my daughters and my grandma were like waiting at the finish line. And like the last 2 miles, I just like started like uncontrollably sobbing. Like, couldn't stop it. Like, it was crazy. It was like the best feeling ever. Finishing his race with him, like in the videos of us afterwards, you kind of see me just disappear because
Yeah.
I had to get away from everybody because I was just like, it
You're
was
watching-
the coolest thing I've ever seen.
You're watching someone you've known your entire life transcend themselves, right?
was
like
amazing.
watching them like become a new person. That has to be insane. Because I remember again, my brother only ran a half marathon, right? But still, no one in my family's ever ran more than a mile at a time. Watching my brother run uphill in a foreign country in the rain and like push himself to that limit, it was just like, I've never seen this side of you, right? This is like, I'm blessed to be able to watch this, to see somebody push themselves this hard to accomplish something.
I would say that's a reward. You mentioned earlier, like getting to that 100 miles. For me, after you've done it once and you do it another time, I can't get to the, I guess, pain level that like, it's like I felt like I've done something unless I've done 100 miles now. It's like, it is such, I don't know, it's so hard to explain the experience because like, I know which pain I'm in for. Like I know that I'm about for the next 8 hours. It's gonna literally, I'll be sitting and then all of a sudden my legs are just gonna be random pain in joints and it sucks. You can't get comfortable, but at the same time, I'm enjoying every single damn second of it. Because it's like, I did this. I was able to accomplish it. Like the last like 5 miles, especially in this last one, like I've always looked for that moment. Because when he told me about his first ultra that he ran, like how the end of it, like overcome with emotion. And like I was emotional in my first one, definitely was. Second one, I was definitely emotional too. But this last one, I was coming in by myself, and like I don't know if it was because my son was at the finish line, my mom was there too. Like all of a sudden, like I was hopping on Instagram, doing a couple of videos, and then just was randomly singing Imagine Dragons because that was my son's favorite band, and like his songs, and like that song, I just had my headphones died, so I was playing it with playing it on my phone, and like I was just thinking about the whole experience and like getting to the finish line, because there were numerous times I wanted to stop in that race too, but it's like, no, my son's here. I want to show him that I'm going to finish this.
Yeah.
And just like crying, singing Imagine Dragons in like the last couple miles, just like thinking about the whole experience. Like that last 5 miles is I can't explain the high.
I think you guys have the ultimate motivation, right? Because you guys have kids. You have people who count on you. You have people who look up to you, right? Your wives, your family, kids, they want you to be this person, and you want to be that person for them. I think there's no better motivator than that. The rest of us are being motivated by money and bitches and all kind of stupid, pointless, temporary stuff, right? But that's not motivating, right? I'm not going to get up and work out in the morning every day for some random girl, right? That's not gonna give me hype. But seeing your son at the finish line, seeing him, like that's imprinted in his memory too. Like, oh, my dad finished this shit. He did this for real.
He ran with me as we came through on that race. You had to come through one area, you looped down and back up to the finish line. He tagged along with me and ran. At the time he's a 5-year-old. He ran, which was equivalent to almost a mile for that little loop. It's about 3/4 of a mile. He sprinted with me the whole time, and it was just. And then like I got a photo of me. I crossed the finish line. I kind of peeled away from him a little bit. I look back. I watched the video now. I love the video. I love the photos we got from it. But now I wish I actually would have done what I was thinking about. I was gonna pick him up and throw him on my shoulders. But at the time, he didn't want me to do that, so I just kind of let him be. But like I crossed the finish line a little bit before him, so I could turn around and let him run into me and pick him up. And like. Whew, like I said, that was definitely my most emotional run at the very end of it, having all that and having him run with me. Even like coming in through the loops and he got to see me twice, to where it's like normal during the day hours, and like running in and him, Dad, like, and just waving at me, like it was just like unbelievable.
Have you found the same like mindset and motivation and energy when it comes to the window tinting business, where maybe before you might have been like, oh, I'm tired, or I don't feel like doing this. Like now you're doing a podcast, right? Now you guys are on social media. Are doing the ultra marathons helping push you guys in that direction too? Yes. Or before you were just being comfortable, like, oh, we have a business, we're doing well, we don't really need to do a podcast, we don't really need to do that stuff. Is that what gave you that kick to be like, no, let's do more? I
would say yes, because it showed me that you can do that much more. Like it's in my eyes, there is no ceiling. It's how much you want to how much discipline do you want to have? How much do you want to get out of it?
Yep.
What do you want to put into it? And that's what it's definitely has grown my mindset, and it's teamed up. Like I said, everything happened in my life kind of almost perfectly, to where I had a bunch of negative stuff happen, but without that negative stuff, it wouldn't have pushed me to where I needed to be at the right times, just to fall in the right things to where everything benefited itself.
You're a Vegas love story, man. That's your Vegas love. That's the story of 99% of the people I know in Vegas. Because Vegas has so many things to offer to get you off your path, right? But it's the same city that will welcome you right back to the path, right? And I think Your story is my story. Your story is my story, right? Like, all the potential in the world, but all the Mike Tyson has a good phrase, and not to get you off track. Mike Tyson says, and you would never expect this kind of levity from Mike Tyson, this kind of like thought. He says, when you're blessed by God, you're also blessed by the devil, right? So you have this ability to achieve, and you have this great mindset to push you, but then it also pushes you in the worst directions possible, right? Do you feel like running marathons helps keep your mind centered? Because I imagine when you guys are this busy running marathons, there's really no time for any dumb shit, right? Like, I don't know how you would even factor that into your schedule anymore.
Yeah, no, there's this is a theme for me, just using the word synergy. There's such a huge synergy to it. I try to find it in everything. Being healthier and, being a good example for my kids. I have more energy to actually get more work done during the day. So it's like the journey of actually the training and, all right, we've got this race coming up. I've got to run this many days a week. I know how many miles I need to run this week, that discipline of getting that in and structuring it in, showing that to my children, everyone around me seeing it also. I'm showing myself I can do more. And I could be putting that energy towards staying up all night playing Call of Duty or whatever, but intentionally actually putting my focus and energy on trying to make myself better directly applies also to helping business. Like if I'm actually showing up well rested with a lot of energy, in shape, like I'm gonna accomplish more at work during the day for my family, which so it's like all of these extra benefits, not just completing the race. Like the journey of just the training alone, day in and day out, and actually just sticking to it and then seeing the progress. Like,
by the way, I like that we never jumped into like the podcast is starting right now.
Oh yeah, we've been trying to do that.
We've gotten better at that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that, by the way. I'm fucking about that shit, man. We started talking, and at no point did I was like, hey, are we going to roll? Are we going to hit the button for the podcast, bro? I'm sitting here just chopping it up with the boys. I like that feeling, man.
Yeah,
No, it's like even this journey has been like I can literally equate the running with this journey by itself. It's to think that we're all of a sudden going to sit down and the first time we do this.
Be Joe Rogan.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's just like if you go back and you see the first couple of episodes that we have, how many times maybe we're repeating a certain word or how we start them, the intros themselves. And it finally got to the point, like we just had a conversation where I pointed out this whole journey with Pineda. Like we started off, got like I think 13 episodes in, and then we got to meet Justin. He's one of the head guys, where he came in, had a nice like 30-minute conversation with us, and he's like, all right, you're doing great. Watched all your episodes. This is what you're doing. This is what I need you to do now. He goes, I didn't make myself notice to begin with because everything I'm telling you right now would have made zero sense to you 13 episodes prior, and it all made sense. It's like you need to be fed in just enough, little by little, to understand what you're doing, get comfortable with what you're doing, and then all right, now this is what you need to work on. And that was, I would say, the biggest thing is getting comfortable just have a conversation.
And I can relate on that, on giving people advice to get into running. Like anybody who wants to get into running that thinks they're not a runner, I believe, the book Born to Run is what really got us into it, and it's why we're Born to Tint with the Miller Brothers. Like that kind of has played a role in our growth mindset. It's kind of where we came up with that name.
Born to Tint.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
That's kind of where that came, and we're the battle-born state, and we were literally born into the tin industry. So it was like when we came up with that name, but the origins of that is this book like really inspired me to the idea that this is even possible. But people, since we tell people now that this is what we do, like, well, I'm not a runner, I can't run. That book kind of talks about how humans evolved to be the apex predator because of our ability to run.
We would outrun animals.
Yeah. So everybody has the ability to do it,
Yeah.
but a lot of people's mindset is wrong when it comes to running, in my opinion, when it comes to getting into it. They think they failed if they have to stop and walk.
Yeah.
I walk a lot.
Yeah.
And my daughter right now is a sophomore at Coronado, and she just took 13th in the state in the 5K. This kind of spawned off on her. She was at that race, watched him finish. We've had her at a bunch of ultras and stuff, and I've seen it shape her. I've seen it shape her mentality. She runs like 40 miles a week right now.
Damn.
She's a little beast. She cold plunges every day.
Damn.
And that's all she thinks about, like cross country. And now she's doing track this year instead of softball because she's like done so well in running and loves it so much. She kind of got rid of softball, and now she's about to start track. But when I talk to people and give them advice on getting into running, like the thing that sparked with me to get me to go longer distance is a run, walk, run method. So maybe you can only do a light jog for 30 seconds and you're massively out of breath. And the more I've learned about the science of it, like once you're out of breath to the point you can't talk in sentences, your heart rate's probably too high. So you need to slow down anyways. So stop and walk for a minute and do another 30 seconds. And if you're like completely out of shape off the couch, maybe do that for a half a mile away from your house in the morning and then turn around and come back, 30 seconds, 1 minute walk, whatever. If you consistently do that 3 to 4 days a week and then start adding a little bit of distance to how far out you go, and then maybe start playing around with how long you're running compared to how long you're walking, you can very quickly, in the span of 6 to 9 months, all of a sudden be going on 10-mile runs, and you would be shocked of how far you could actually go. But the idea that I failed running because I had to stop and walk, I think is a lot of people's barriers to actually getting in a regular practice of getting running in. Because starting a day with a 10-mile trail run out on McCullough, because that's the other thing he didn't mention, there's a lot of really cool trails in this town. And getting off of asphalt and concrete is actually a lot better for your body. An uneven surface causes you not to put the same amount of tension on your knees, all your ligaments. So if you're running on an uneven surface like a trail, you can actually go even further without the risk of injury. Get out into nature, get on a trail, walk if you have to. If your heart rate's elevated and you get in a 30, 40-minute walk, that's going to benefit you, and you're going to feel better throughout the day.
When you guys are, because you guys are getting your social media and that, are you guys posting more about the window tinting side, or are you guys posting more about your running, your training, all that goes into that?
That's one of the main reasons beyond the business that I started my Instagram is I want to start going after sponsorships for running. Running shoes aren't cheap. Fuel, stuff like that. Like if you can apply for sponsorships through the major companies, you can get like a 25% discount, in which all that stuff throughout the year, that adds up. So that's why I started my Instagram, is I started posting, because I was already posting on my Facebook about like my runs. I do little videos, and so I've started doing that on my Instagram. I need to be more consistent. I want to do both, like, because the main thing with this podcast is we wanted to have like certain pillars. We're trying to inform people of our industry, let people know what you can and can't do. A lot of people don't know you can tint houses, you have decorative films, you have security films, you have a bunch of things that people don't know about. So we want to inform as much as possible. And then beyond that was also community and then health and fitness. So it all kind of tying together. Because like the running definitely was a huge game changer for me for when it comes to business, to where like leading up to my race, like I probably have at least 3 or 4 videos that I've done in the past 3 weeks. I haven't posted because by the time I get around to post it, it's the next day. I've already talked about the previous day. I'm just like, nope, I can't post it now. So I need to get past doing that and stop trying to make it perfect. That's my constant problem.
Yes. The reason I asked is because I know nothing about window tint, right? I'm not about window tint. But I know if I was to choose someone, I would choose you guys if I saw you running every day, right? Because I don't know anything about any window tinting business anywhere, right? But if I'm sitting here every day watching you guys run and push yourself, I know at the very least I'm getting people who have the mentality and dedication that I'm looking for, right? Yeah. Like there's people who buy houses from me who've never seen me show a house, but they know that I know Vegas because I'm out eating and doing things, right? Yeah. And seeing you guys run every day and hearing you guys talk about what you just talked about, your mindset, your level of dedication, I'm like, oh, well, I want these guys, right? If they're that dedicated to running, I'm sure they're that level, that same dedication crosses over to what you guys do professionally, And I wasn't sure if you guys were keeping your running stuff separate from your...
We've kind of posted some stuff. I've actually... His first 100-miler, I went live a couple times on the shop's Instagram. But it's nothing we've been consistent with, and we've given peeks of it. This is the most we've ever talked about it on all of our platforms is on here. Yeah, but we definitely need to post more.
I think this is what selling I've tried explaining this to realtors for years, and they don't fucking listen. Selling your actual business online is hard because there's so many people doing whatever your business is, right? Especially now in social media, now that it's so congested. But like... selling yourself, that's where it's at. I don't give a shit what you do for business, but if I see you're dedicated to your craft, I'm hooked. I'm into whatever you do. I don't care if it's eating food. I don't care if it's running marathons. I don't give a shit. If I see you dedicated to your craft, everyone wants to watch that. Yeah. We all love reality TV is popular for that reason. We love seeing human beings try to overcome and defeat the same obstacles we're trying to defeat. You know? I was going to go to lunch after this. What did I say when I walked in here? I said I was going to do what? I was going to go to a steakhouse right after this. But I'm going to go home and hit the treadmill. I'm going to tag you in it so you know I'm fucking serious too. I'm going to tag you in that shit, Ricky. I'm going to tag you. I'm going to tag you because I want you to know this has been motivational for me. It has. It has. I make excuses. Oh, I'm busy in my day. I was about to go eat at a fucking steakhouse.
That wouldn't be so bad if you just had the steak.
I do keep it to just the steak. That's when I was doing keto, the only reason I passed keto is because this is so dumb. It's so stupid. The only reason I was able to do keto is because these restaurants were inviting me in to review their food. And I'd be like, do you have steak? Yeah. So I would film all the crap and I would just eat the steak. Right. And I'm like, thanks for the free steak. Right. Like that was what kept me motivated. But yeah, I'm gonna go run. I'm gonna go hop on the treadmill and do the rolling hills. I'm gonna actually try to break a sweat, right? Because if I have time to go to a steakhouse, I have time to hop on the treadmill right now.
Yeah.
Well,
that's amazing.
The next thing I was gonna, because that's my biggest thing is execution right now and actually posting about anything. And usually I'll wait for. I've already, like I said, I've already picked my race. I was gonna repeat what I did last year, but I have friends coming in town. It's not gonna work, so I'm gonna go do Reno again because I've done the race. It's a fun race. It's gorgeous up there.
Yeah.
I love the.
You going back to Truckee? Is it past the river?
It is. You start in Carson City. You start at Western Nevada.
Okay.
And you run up the mountain.
Okay. Sick.
Yeah. Yeah. So the first 10 miles you get, I think it's 5,000 plus feet in elevation gain. Yeah. It's a very you walk the first 10 miles. Like the psychos that are trying to do that, because when I did it, there was only 2 people that did sub 24, and which like the previous one we just did, there was a good chunk of people that did sub 24. Tahoe, you're just trying to finish.
You're trying to survive.
It is pure survival. With elevation gain, it is pure survival. If you go out too hot, you will not finish. It is too much. I ended up gaining, I think it was like 28,000 feet of elevation gain.
That's nuts.
That's
nuts.
Hell of an experience. I'm really, really looking forward to it. But I'm going to start I'm going to do a 6-month, I think this upcoming week would be the start of my training block for it. So like the past couple weeks, I've been lazy. Last week I was thankfully able to take my son to Disneyland and ate a bunch of stuff wasn't supposed to. Drank the entire time I was there, but I also knew I'm in a down period right now. Like I just got done with my race in October, like enjoying myself a little bit. But as soon as I start this training block, I'm actually I'm gonna commit to. I'll post every single day of my training block. Every day that I'm running. That means Mondays there won't be a post, but Tuesday to Sunday.
The hardest part for people for social media is that they're not consistent and dedicated. If you guys are already consistent and dedicated, you guys already know how to do the thing, right? It's just trying to make everything perfect. My videos fucking suck. Straight up. Go look at any other food influencers videos with lighting and voiceovers and all this editing. My shit sucks. The only difference between me and them is that I'm willing to do it 3 to 4 times a day. Even if my videos are trash, I don't give a shit. I made it, I'm gonna post it, and you're gonna fucking like it or not, I made it, right? Like, I'm not gonna make this shit for no reason. And I think if you guys apply that dedication and consistency that you already have, most people need what you guys have. I wish I had your guys' level of dedication. Holy shit, I'd be amazing at what I do.
Well, you do have it, man. That's why you've been so successful.
Not to your guys' level. You guys are able to push yourself past a breaking point that would make 99% of all people quit. That's dedication that, like, not many people have. That's rare.
I'm going to push back a little bit, though, because 99% of people that are trying to post on social, they give up and quit because they don't get the views, right?
Because
it's the same thing. It's not physical, but it's the same thing. It's a mental hurdle, right? It's not a physical hurdle. It's a mental hurdle. We've definitely had it. Like I've known for the longest time that we should be posting more content, but I constantly will record something and be like, oh, this sucks, and just not post it, rather than let the audience, let the algorithm dictate what people actually are going to watch, right? Like, and you know what? This one only got 100 views, where, like, we've had a TikTok of me installing security film that hit, like, 250,000 views.
Oh, yeah.
Same thing. I had the same thing you said. I was like, oh, we figured it out. And then, like, now it's like the average TikTok's like a couple hundred.
Yeah.
So then I stopped posting on TikTok as much, and
Yeah.
I was only doing Instagram because I was seeing a little bit more success on Instagram. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, we got to keep doing the TikTok. Like,
It's deflating.
yeah,
It can be
like,
deflating.
yeah, but why? If only 200 people saw it, and because it sucked, nobody saw it.
Sure.
Who gives a shit?
But even on the other end, that's 200 more people that saw you than would have saw you if you
Oh.
didn't post the video.
Totally.
That's 200 more people. If you woke up today and
That's
didn't
true.
post, that's 0 people
Yeah.
who know about your business.
Yeah.
Even if it's 200 people,
Yeah.
like, social media has fucked with our count of how valuable 100 people are.
Yeah.
We think, oh, it's only valuable if 1 million people. No, dude. If 200 people watch you every day, you have a business.
Yeah.
If you can get 200 people to watch you every single day, day in and day out, that's a business. That's 200 fucking people, you know? But social media has fucked with our numbers so much. It messes with our head so much. It's so, and I'm guilty of it too, where my wife had to sit down and be like, baby, 6,000 people watched your video. That's good. You would have killed for that when you first started. And I'm like, you're right. Humble me, please. The camera is incredibly humbling.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Incredibly humbling.
I'd say we're getting towards the end to wrap this up. I have 2 final questions that kind of relate to your channel.
Oh, surprise, pop quiz. Let's go.
5 best spots to eat in Vegas.
Top 5 spots to eat in Vegas. Okay, I'm going to cheat because I literally just made this video in my head. So do you want me to go 5 to 1 or 1 to 5?
Let's go 5 to 1.
5 to 1. China Mama, the GOAT. Just period, the GOAT. You're not touching China Mama ever. It's the GOAT. La Thai, best Thai food in Vegas. Period, end of story. Sparrow and Wolf. This is fancy fine dining over in Spring Mountain. It's like food art, essentially. It's crazy. Getting a reservation there is it's almost impossible, but it's worth it. It's amazing. Esther's Kitchen. If you like Italian food, it's the best Italian food in Vegas for like $15 a plate. You can't beat it. You can go to Carbone and waste $400, or go to Esther's and just have a great meal for $15.
Where's Esther's?
Arts District. All the cool food is in Arts District. They've got a bunch of cool chefs out there doing their own thing, being creative, having fun. Chef James Trees is a really popular chef. He was in California. He opened up Esther's. He owns Al Solito Posto up in Summerlin. The guys, when it comes to Italian food, he's the best. And then number 1's Herbs and Rye. If you know me, like I am Herbs and Rye. Like you can't beat it. It's the most Vegas restaurant in the history of the world.
It's so good.
You can show up at 2 a.m. in a t-shirt and sweatpants, and they'll serve you steak and cocktails, and it's the shit.
I see that you just went to their sister restaurant, Cleaver.
Yeah. The best way, so if you're from Vegas, you understand this, but if you're not from Vegas, Cleaver is a steakhouse that happens to serve world-class cocktails. And then Herbs and Rye is a cocktail bar that happens to serve really good steak. So they're kind of the same restaurant, but it's different. You're not going to Cleaver's to like hang out with your buddies, have some drinks, meet some girls. You're going there to eat a steak, and then they happen to bring you good cocktails, you know? Herbs and Rye, you're going to get drunk, and then it's like, oh, you guys also serve steak and pasta? Fantastic, you know? It's half off, even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the other top 5 things to do in Vegas.
Ooh, like single dude, just in
I didn't
general.
think about this.
Because if it's single dude, I got some strip clubs to throw out the way. But if it's us family men, we're a bunch of family men in here. If it's a bunch of family men in here, I'll just do like a general top 5 things to do in Vegas.
Perfect.
5, go to a local sporting event like the Silver Knights or the G League Ignite or the Arena League football. People don't realize we have local teams here. Super cheap, very affordable, easy parking. You don't have to go to the strip. So go to see a local team. Number 4, catch one of like the dirtbag magician shows. Don't go somewhere fancy. Go see like Chris Angel. Go see a cheesy old magician. Go see David Copperfield. Do like the classic Vegas thing, you know? Number 3, it's so expensive, but go to a Golden Knights game. It's the best arena.
Yeah.
It's the best hockey arena in the country. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. It's the best.
That's why they hate us.
Yeah. You go to talk to any fan who's been to Vegas' arena. We have the best hockey stadium in the country. We have more fun. It's more engaging. It's the best. We have the best food. We have the best everything.
Yeah.
Number 2, First Friday. First Friday downtown in the Arts District. It's so cool. You get to do all the local beers, all the local drinks, all the local people. It's just the coolest shit. And then you hit the nightclubs at like 10 o'clock. First Friday is amazing. And the number 1 thing to do in Vegas as just a general person, grab a tall ass 40-ounce overpriced Fat Tuesday drink and just walk the strip. It's so stupid. It's so cliche. But I swear to God, dude, I don't tell people. This is the first time I've ever told people this. Like once a month, I'll just walk the strip. I just walk the strip. It's so touristy, but I swear to God, there's something just like revitalizing about seeing it. But I don't go at night. Don't go at night when it's cute on the strip. Go at like 11 o'clock when there's still throw up from the night before. That's real Vegas, okay? Yeah. That's real Vegas. When the prostitutes have their shoes off and there's still throw up on the streets, that's when Vegas is the absolute best. That's my number one thing. And people think I'm crazy, but it's true.
No. I think that's the first time I've ever heard a local suggest that.
Yeah.
No, I can understand it. That makes complete sense to me.
Yeah.
I would.
Don't go with all the tourists. That's stupid. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Go when the tourists are asleep and it's just you and you can be remembered. It's like a good reminder of how disgusting but awesome Vegas is. It's the grossest, most beautiful city on the planet.
Yeah, we actually get to be on the strip early in the morning frequently if we got a job to do down there. So like I can totally relate. I actually did a job on the strip. It was like a little travel booth where they needed the film removed and replaced.
Yeah.
And when I showed up, there was a giant pile of puke and they were hosing it off. So like I could completely relate to that.
So many tourists don't understand how much piss and vomit and homeless dumps we have to clean up off this strip on a daily basis. Wait till the Super Bowl. They're oh boy,
that's gonna be.
They have no clue how.
That's about to be wild. I almost forgot that was coming.
Yeah,
that's like around the corner.
It's gonna be if you thought F1 was insane, the Super Bowl is gonna ruin this city. I can't wait. I can't wait.
Man, I really enjoyed meeting you for the first time, man. This was awesome. We gotta do it again for sure. We didn't even get into any of your real estate.
Oh, dude, I fucking hate talking about that. I like talking. I find it much more interesting to talk about like people's mentality and how they achieve what they achieve. What I achieve is so fucking redundant. I'll say this on camera. Anybody who wants to be like what I do, it's the easiest thing in the whole fucking world. It really is. Like what you guys do, what people who manage to achieve what other people seem is impossible, that's fucking fascinating to me. When Jay Bird told me he was doing the cross country thing, and I was like, wait, Ricky's doing fucking what? That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. So I always find it way more interesting about what you guys are doing than what I'm doing. 100%. I will never come on this podcast and ever talk about what I'm doing because I find it utterly boring. Well, what you guys do is incredible.
Yeah. Well, see, that's
following along, watching you on social. Yeah. I've enjoyed it, man. It's really cool to see you. Just like your personality definitely comes out in everything. When I heard we were having you on, I was so excited.
To me, it's Vegas. To me, it's Vegas. To me, I see that. I think that's Vegas. That is the representation of Vegas that I see. You know, and you're going out and you're hitting spots where majority of people have no clue. Like everyone thinks, oh, you live in Vegas. Which casino do you live next to?
What?
I don't go to the strip. What are you talking about? I stay as far away from there as usually possible. I go out to the outskirts.
This is what I'm talking about. That's the normal local advice.
Well, I'm a dirtbag Vegas kid. To me, Johnny Mac's is a fancy restaurant still. Like Vegas dive bars are forever like what we go. And we don't do that strip shit. No. I'm appreciative that you guys had me on and thank you guys for letting me dive into your guys' story because I think the people of Vegas are the best people on planet Earth. I swear to God, everybody I've ever met in Vegas has a great story. Everybody's overcome something. Everybody's where they are for the exact reason. And I love sharing that with the world, man. So thank you guys, sincerely.
Well, thank you.
Sincerely.
We appreciate it. So you guys know how this goes. Please follow along, subscribe. We're on all the platforms, YouTube. We appreciate the follow, and we appreciate you guys all coming along with this journey. So.
Yeah, no, this was a fun one. Make sure, if you aren't already following Brandon from Vegas on Instagram, TikTok, follow this man. He's got some of the best clips out there on food in Vegas, things to do in Vegas, and he happens to sell real estate in Vegas. So, it's this was super fun. Thank you, and make sure you subscribe.